currently in Leek, Washington, which is about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes north of Seattle. I got here really late Friday night, technically Saturday morning. My flight was delayed like 3 hours, so I didn't actually get to the Airbnb until about 2:30 a.m. West Coast time. So that would be 5:30 a.m. East Coast, and we were exhausted. I didn't sleep on the plane because I was editing my video, so it was just a long day of travel. And then as soon as we got up, we hit the ground running because we only had a few days. So I'm about 20 minutes from checking out of my Airbnb, and I thought I would give you a really quick rundown of all the things we've been seeing and doing. I've just been taking little clips, so I'll pop them on the screen as I kind of share what we've been up to. So we arrived really late, and the Airbnb is adorable. I will definitely include a link to it because it's just been perfect, and it's a great location if you're interested in exploring the Leek, Mount Vernon, like San Juan Islands, that whole area. So Saturday morning we woke up and headed into Leek. It's a cute little town. There are lots of little shops. We ate breakfast at a place called Calico Cupboard, and there are a couple of locations around this area, and we went to 2 different ones. So the first one was in Leek, and then we walked around, we checked out a whole bunch of the shops. There were a couple antique shops, just like really cute curated collections in these shops. So it was a fun place to kick things off and just enjoy shopping. Really wish I packed an extra suitcase because definitely would have been bringing home more antique finds, but you know, hindsight's 2020. So after breakfast and shopping, we headed back to Christensen's nursery, which is just a few minutes from our Airbnb. It is the coolest nursery and greenhouse ever. Like, it was just so beautiful, so fun to walk around. They had little shops like tucked in around the greenhouses. I could have spent all day just walking around there. We kept saying it would be the perfect place to take your morning walks if you lived nearby because it was so big, so you could just walk through like all the different greenhouses and gardens. So if you're ever in this area, I highly recommend checking that out. Next, we headed up to the Bow Edison area, which is another cute little town, lots of little shops. We stopped at a place called Slow Food, and we got a glass of wine and a little charcuterie and sat by the water. The sun had come out, so it was a nice little stopping point to relax and chat. And then we were able to get a last-minute reservation at Willowbrook Manor. It's actually someone's personal residence, but a few times a year they move out the furniture and turn it into a little tea room, and you can go and eat tea and little like small eats. So that was really fun. They also have some gardens, but when we were leaving it was pouring rain, so we didn't want to walk around in the rain. But in nicer weather you can get tea and then walk around the gardens. Honestly, just between all of these places, the drive is so beautiful. It's really flat in the valley area, but I think we just came at the perfect time. Things are starting to bloom, everything's green. It's just so beautiful. We came home, we crashed because we were so exhausted. It was a very long day after a long day of travel, so I think we went to bed at like 7 or 8 p.m. Then Sunday morning we got up and we decided to go to San Juan Island. So the San Juan Islands, there's like a group of them. We decided to go to Friday Harbor on San Juan Island, which seems to be the one with like the biggest town area, like the most to do. So we took the ferry and we ended up bringing the car just so that we could get around more. You can also just walk on the ferry, but we were glad we did bring the car because then you can just cover more ground for the short amount of time we were there. We walked around town, we checked out a bunch of shops. There was this awesome used bookstore. It was just floor to ceiling, covered in books, and we spent like 20 minutes there. Again, I wish I had an extra suitcase because I would have brought some books home, but it was just really fun to walk around and spend some time in there. We went to the brewery and got some chowder, which is so funny because I'm always so apprehensive about getting New England clam chowder when I'm not in New England, but it did not disappoint. It was very herby and creamy, which I love, so that was nice. Beer was great, and then we hopped in the car and we drove around a bit just to kind of check things out. Just a gorgeous view, lots of good ocean views. We found a little park that we could walk down to the water. We checked out some tide pools, so just a fun little adventure. And again, the sun had come out, so it was nice to be outside, windows down, and of course listening to the new Taylor Swift album. I think we have it memorized by now. So then we took the ferry home, got some Thai food, and just hung out at the Airbnb. Monday morning, we woke up and finally went to one of the tulip fields, which is the whole reason we planned this trip in the first place. During the month of April, they have the Skagit Valley Tulip Festival, and there are like 4 different farms that have these insane tulip fields, just like acres planted with tulips. But we arrived just a tad bit late because they have started topping all the tulip fields, and apparently they do that once the blooms have kind of like started to fade so that the energy can go back into the bulb and produce bigger, better blooms the next year. They did still have a bunch of display fields, so still lots of flowers, but just not the same impact of acres of tulip fields. So we got some nice pictures, we walked around, but it was a little bit chilly. The sun was out, but it was just breezy, so we kind of did our walk, took our photos, and then quickly walked back to the car. So it would be cool to come back when it's more peak season, but it's a little hard to predict because, I mean, every year can be different with the weather, but just everywhere you drive, people have tulips planted, so it's still really beautiful. If you are coming to this area specifically for the Tulip Festival, this Airbnb is such a perfect location. The fields are like just a few minutes away, so I don't think I intentionally planned it that way. It just so happened that this is what I found, and it was a perfect spot. Monday afternoon, we actually headed down to Seattle because one of our friends from high school lives down there, and my friend Megan, who I traveled with, was actually flying out to LA this morning, Tuesday morning, to visit her sister with our friend. So we headed down to Seattle, we walked around a bit. We did walk down to the Pike Place Market, but by the time we got there around 5, most things were closing, so it was fun to just walk around, but it wasn't as lively as I imagine it would be, you know, during peak hours. Then we actually went down to the Ferris wheel and we took a ride up there just to get a view of Mount Rainier and the water and the city, so that was fun. I mean, obviously a little overpriced and touristy, but it was definitely a good view. I have been to Seattle before, and I've gone to the Space Needle and the Chihuly Museum of Glass, which I highly, highly recommend. I love blown glass, and I just think the art is incredible. So if you're in the area, definitely recommend that. And the Space Needle is just a really cool thing to see. I have not gone to the top, but just walking around the base of it, you kind of see it from the museum, but it's a cool sightseeing thing. We ended up going to a hot pot place in Seattle, and I just love hot pot. It's a little different than a place I've been to in Boston, but it's such a fun experience with friends, so I will include the link to the place we went. It was delicious, and just nice to share food and catch up with our friend. And then before we hit the road, we were looking for a sweet treat, but we passed Dick's, which is apparently a famous little burger joint here in Seattle, and a burger and fries sounded better than ice cream to me, so I ended up getting a cheeseburger and fries, and it did not disappoint. Dick's is known for like low prices, and my friend was telling us that they like pay their employees well and they get benefits and stuff, so it's just well known for that. So if you're in the area, check it out. And yeah, that's it. So now it's Tuesday. I've packed up, I've tidied up the Airbnb, and I am just about to get in the car and hit the road slowly back to the airport. I've got to drop off the rental car, and then I'll probably get some food before I hop on the plane. I'll include links to all the places we visited, the restaurants and things like that, in case you're interested or planning a trip to this area. It's just been a really fun place to explore. I totally understand why people love it out here because it's absolutely gorgeous, and it kind of reminds me of, you know, where we are in New England, being so close to like the mountains and the water and the city. Anyway, if you have any questions about our trip, definitely let me know in the comments. But I'm gonna wrap things up here, and then I will meet you back home in the garden. Hello again, and welcome back to sunny New England. I am outside in the back garden with my leeks in tow. I got these from my sister today, and they look kind of dry and sad, but they're in a dormant state, and they can actually live off of the bulb for up to 3 weeks. So they're shipped this way, and as soon as you get them, you've got to get them in the ground. So timing is critical. They're about 8 inches tall, And when you plant them, you actually dig the hole about 6 inches deep and you bury most of the plant. And that's how it blanches itself, which is the white part of the leek. I believe that's the term at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and plant these in the back bed. I think it's warm enough. If we do get frost, I can throw some frost cloth on it for a little bit, but we're pretty close to being in the clear of frost. So in an effort to not have to like plant these twice or risk them not transplanting well if I plant them in a pot first, I'm just gonna go right ahead and stick them in the ground. I have a bag of compost left over. I'm going to dig up a couple of rows. I'm gonna fill that with compost so they've got nice nutrients in the ground, and then I will just stick these in a few inches apart. I've got 3 rows of leeks with 5 in each. Hopefully they'll all take. I forgot to put compost in the first row, but for the second 2, when I dug out the row, I put compost in the bottom, filled it back in with soil, and then topped everything with compost. And I only left about 1.5 inches of each leek sticking out. And as the leeks continue to grow, I'm gonna hill them up. So I'll kind of bury more and more of the plant as they get bigger. And that will allow more of the bottom of the plant to self-blanch. So actually tonight it's supposed to be pretty cold, so I'm gonna go get the hoops that my sister gave me. They're just these metal hoops that are like an arch that I can put over them, and then just drape some of the cloth over it so that they don't get, you know, ruined by frost. I think they're okay, but just to play it safe, since they're just in the ground, I don't want to completely kill them off in the first 24 hours. So let's go do that. How cute is that? It looks like a little mini greenhouse. So you can see these are just these little metal arches that you just poke into the ground on either side. And this cloth is called Rime, and it's supposed to protect the plants from frost. So when you install this kind of cover, you want to make sure that the cloth isn't draping down and touching the plants, so that when there's moisture and frost, it's not actually touching. If it is, it's really not serving any purpose in protecting the plants. So you want to make sure it's wide enough to give clearance in case it droops a little bit. But hopefully this will protect it for the next week or so. I think we only have a few more nights of, you know, below freezing, and then after that I can probably pull this up and the leeks will be okay. But just because they're brand new, I want to make sure to protect them so we don't have 15 dead leek plants in 24 hours. So I think we're done over here. I'm just gonna grab my stuff and walk over to the raised beds to see how our little seedlings are doing. I just got the hammock out because it's so sunny, so if I have a few minutes I might lay out here with a blanket and read, but oh goodness, this just makes me so excited for summer. I can't wait to sit out here and read. This frame was a Facebook Marketplace find, and I got the actual hammock on Amazon, I think. Some of our friends found a similar frame and I just loved it. It's not like all the regular metal frames that are just kind of ugly. It's very comfy, nice and big, and every now and then these two munchkins will jump up there with me. Huh? You were just up there, huh? Piper gets a little nervous because it's wobbly, but hey, what do you see? What do you see? All right, let's go to the garden. Let's go check it out. Chives, just enormous. I mean, you saw them last week and they just keep getting bigger. So I'm debating splitting this one up and putting 2 clumps of it in the perennial bed. I just don't want the dogs getting into it, but it might be fine. So I might risk it, see how they do. And if I have to dig it up and put it in one of these beds, I can. And look at that. We've got all kinds of radishes popping up. We've got arugula over here. These little grass sprouts are all spinach. Over here, turnips. So all still pretty small, but now you can actually see things. You don't have to look too hard. These are all the bok choy. I don't know if the kale is popping up. I only put 5 seeds in, and there's a lot of weeds, so I'm not sure which is kale and which isn't. But this is all our collards. These are the baby greens. And no carrots, oddly enough. I thought the carrots would be popping up like crazy, but I don't see any. I don't even think, I mean, that might be a carrot, but yeah. So we will see. Not sure if those will pop up. And then my little bulbs in the corner here. Look at, these are just on the verge of wanting to show themselves. Don't eat it. Don't you eat that. No, no, excuse you, Gus. She's being a little sneak over there. Come here. Hey, leave him alone. Thank you. Hey, baby. All right, and then in the front, the hyacinths are popping up. Look at these. They're so beautiful. They're like a bluish purple. These ones have like a mix of light and dark. So I think I got a mix pack. I must have gotten a mix pack. But I just love the color. They're so pretty. And then those are more alliums. More alliums. So hopefully those will be popping soon. And then still, obviously no flowers, but we've got some leaves on the hydrangeas, which I think you saw last week. So that means they're starting to get established. This yarrow is getting huge. I think I'm gonna have to dig it up because it'll spread like crazy and I don't want it taking over. So I think I'm gonna have to move that. And then this hydrangea, it's small, but it's coming up. So hopefully that'll get a little bit bigger this year. So that's it for raised bed updates. Still just tiny little sprouts, but it's exciting to see things popping up. And of course the flowers in the front. I'm just so happy to see color finally. I've been watching them day after day, just like waiting for them to pop. And of course the color started to show when I was on my trip. So it was a nice thing to come back to. But I think that's it for today. Tomorrow I'm hoping I have time to actually do a little bit of trash pickup. So Earth Day was on Monday, and our town every year around this time gives out trash bags to just clean up your street. And surprisingly, there is so much trash that people throw out their windows. It honestly, it's just shocking to me. Like, I do not understand it, but people do it. And I want my street in my town to be clean, so we are going to walk up and down our street and just pick up trash with the bags we were given, and then we put them on the side of the road, and our trash pickup picks them up, which is awesome. So we all work together and everybody cleans up their street, and then we do it again next year. So that's on the docket, and then I'm hoping, maybe, fingers crossed, I will have time to get some soil in the pumpkin patch and be able to till that up a little bit, just to prep it for when we do get plants in the ground. And then I will also give you a seedling update because the pumpkins and cucumbers, they're huge. I was shocked at how big they were when I got home. They were literally like pushing the dome lid off. I don't think Matt looked at that one because they were like exploding out of the container, which was awesome. And almost all of them have sprouted. So I'll make sure to give you an update on that. And I'm sure there's some other garden task I'm forgetting that I will share, but it's just gonna be a shorter week because half the week I was traveling. So anyway, I'm gonna go grab my book. I'm gonna read for 10 or 15 minutes until Matt gets home, and then we are going to eat dinner. gathered up the dogs and we're gonna go for a quick walk down our road to collect trash. I picked up some plastic bags and gloves from our town hall. They give these out every spring around this time so that people can go up and down their roads and pick up the trash. It's just like a regular trash bag, but they do give you gloves, thankfully. So we're gonna take a walk down the road, pick up as much trash as we can before it gets dark out, and then we're gonna head inside and probably, we haven't decided if we're gonna make dinner or order dinner. It'll depend on what time it is and how hungry we are, but I'm gloved up and ready to go. Alright, so we ended up with one full bag of trash, which is less than I was expecting, but still a lot for a farm road. Mostly plastic cups, takeout containers, and alcohol bottles and beer cans, which bums me out because it's just not safe, and I don't love to see that, but it's all cleaned up. We put the bag on the side of the road. Our trash company will come pick them all up, and we'll do it all over again next year. So I'm gonna show Matt. So we're gonna let the dogs run around in the backyard. So we're gonna let the dogs run around in the backyard for a little bit, figure out what we want to do for dinner. And during my lunch today, I actually flagged out a potential patio space. So I wanted to show Matt and see what he thought, and I will show you too. So as a reminder, this right here is the window we want to change into a door. So this would be our little eating patio where we'd have the grill, and then I kind of like bumped this little pathway out around the three-season porch, comes around to the other side, and it's a little bit wider here, just trying to kind of like maintain the lines as much as possible. And then, oops, as I trip over it, and then aligned with this edge of the house is where I bump out this like larger spot for a table or chairs or something. So I don't have it going all the way to the edge of the barn because I would probably do a border garden here. And in the future, someday, we might like extend this and do kind of a renovation with the staircase and blah, 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 blah. So I'm just trying to think future forward, like if this would actually be wide enough. And imagine this is all occupied by potential footprint of the house. I may actually move this out so it's on the other side of the steps, so it squares off here, and then that just kind of bumps out here to the left for the pathway. So all still kind of in flux. I have to sit with this a little bit. I'll probably move it several times just to see what feels right, if the widths feel right, you know, if we can fit the things that we really want to. I'm not a big fan of huge patio spaces, so I kind of like that they're just little corners where we can fit a single table with some chairs or a couple of chairs to just sit and, you know, relax. We certainly don't need any huge furniture, but this is the plan at the moment. It will likely change, but we're getting there. Hi, who wants a treat? Yes. Baby. Hello and happy Saturday. Matt and I are outside again. It is very sunny, as you can tell by my eyes. But we are trying to get through the last big pile of brush that we set aside in the winter because this is the last weekend we can burn in our town. So we are slowly bringing bits and pieces of this over to the burn area. We have to be 75 feet away from any structure, so unfortunately this is too close to the house. So we have to relocate it, but we're hoping we can get through the rest of this today, and then, you know, the rest is just little stick tidy up, and we can start to collect a pile for next winter. So that's what we're gonna chip away at, and then while the pile is burning and Matt's kind of monitoring that, I'm going to try to fill the pumpkin patch with some soil and till that up a little bit. We can only burn until 4 p.m., so hopefully we'll make a bunch of progress over the next several hours. bulk of the pile behind me is all cleared out. I've raked up all the loose stuff and I brought it all over to the burn pile. Burn pile is almost done. Matt's just watching it and kind of letting it die out. We raked up all the loose sticks that had kind of fallen as I was bringing things over. We still have this big pile of logs that will need to be sawed up, so we'll save that for another day. But slowly but surely we're chipping away at the little stuff, which is good. Technically we can burn tomorrow, but we're having friends over and it's gonna be so nice out. So instead, we'll probably break up the rest of the little stuff and throw it back into the woods or make a small pile that we can burn when burn season comes back around again. Now that I'm seeing this in the background, I am reminded that I need to water my leeks today. But anyway, now I'm going to fill up a bucket of soil and dump that into the pumpkin patch and till it all in so that that bed is ready for planting. When I do actually plant the pumpkins and cucumbers, I'm going to get some like nice compost and I'll put a handful of that into the actual planting hole so that the plant itself has some nice rich nutrients right there where it's growing. But I think this will just like help get all the soil around it prepped. So we will see. I'm gonna give it a go. And then I think we're gonna take a break and hang with the dogs because they've been waiting for us. So there we go, all tilled up. We added 2 buckets of compost and we raked that all in. There's still tons of rocks, tons of roots, but we're just gonna call that good drainage. I pulled out some of the larger rocks, but it would be impossible to get them all, so just gonna go with it. Like I said, when I actually plant the plants, I will put a handful of good compost in where the plant is being planted just to give it a good boost right by the roots. But I think for now we can call this good and we'll continue to improve the soil as we see how things grow. Good morning again and happy Sunday. Sorry if you can hear the coffee machine in the background, it's kind of gurgling. Before I wrap the vlog up today, I wanted to give you an update on the seedlings as promised. I'm not going to share all of them because that's just getting boring, but I will show you the ones we planted recently because they're getting huge. So let's head down to the basement and I'll show you where things are at. Here are the pumpkins, squash, gourds, and cucumbers. Look how huge these are. I got back from my trip and they were literally popping the lid off. They were enormous and nearly everything, yeah, almost everything has sprouted or is almost sprouted all the way. So we've got almost 100% success there and I'm super pumped about this. I think this is a sign that the new pumpkin patch is going to be overflowing. So unfortunately none of the dahlia seeds sprouted and I forgot, I think these were some miscellaneous seeds I had that I put in and nothing came up yet, so I'm gonna let those go and see if anything does come up. But everything else is looking pretty good, slow and steady. I've been having to move the lights up little by little so they're not too close, and I think I need to do it again with this one. My assumption is that this like lighter color on the leaves, which kind of looks like a sunspot, might be because these are too close, but that's just my uninformed gardener's guess. I don't actually know if that's the case. Tomatoes are looking nice and strong after transplanting. Cosmos, cilantro, tomatillos, dill, fennel, all looking great. Zinnias back here are looking nice and strong. Peppers have kind of slowed down a bit, so I might need to give those a little spray of fertilizer. and move the lights up potentially. So by all the green here, I think we'll have something to show for in the garden this year, but only time will tell to see how many things make it through hardening off and survive outside. I know I keep mentioning hardening off, but I don't know if I've explained it. If you don't know, when you grow seedlings inside, you need to introduce them to the outside weather and sunshine slowly because it can shock them. So when you're starting to get ready to plant them outside, a few weeks in advance, you need to like bring them outside and let them spend a few minutes, a few hours, and increase that over the course of several days outside. That also helps them get used to the wind, so when the wind is blowing on them, it helps strengthen their stems. And that can be a really critical point. Like, you can grow all you want inside, but if you can't get through the hardening off or you forget about them, you can kill all your plants off. I did it for some things last year, but I have a terrible habit of just like sticking something outside and thinking, oh, I'll come back in 15 minutes and then completely forgetting about it. So I need to have a better system this year, like a timer or something. As we get closer to planting outside, I'll start to introduce the things we're gonna plant first, and we'll spend 15 minutes, bring them back in, an hour, bring them back in, and hopefully over the course of a week, week and a half, things will kind of be a little bit more comfortable outside before I actually stick them in the ground. So we will see. Like I said, only time will tell, but we're getting really close, and I know I keep saying that, but we've already got some things in the ground. I'm gonna wrap things up here. I'm gonna finish my coffee, and then I'm going to go outside and do a little bit of yard work, tidy up, pick up some sticks. Matt's gonna mow the lawn. Hopefully I'll have time to clean up the 3-season porch, and then we're having some friends over for a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for future updates. We will catch up in next week's vlog with more gardening updates, planting perennials, repotting some of our indoor plants, and of course updates on seedlings.